Good afternoon and welcome to the show. I am Mary Grace and I am here with my good friend Dave Hayes, also known as Praying Medic. And we are bringing you, believe it or not, this is episode 28 of the Conspiracy of Truth. Yes. And so this is where we go over conspiracies, maybe, that may have been considered conspiracy theories that have, in some cases, many cases, turned out to be actual conspiracies.
Conspiracy is not a theory, it's a felony, as you're about to find out.
And the statute of limitations on that is long.
Correct.
Okay, so as you're coming into the show today, we want to ask you to share, repost, send this in messages to friends and family. And also our usual disclaimer, which is that Dave and I are having a conversation. Sometimes I do interviews, but in this case, we are simply talking back and forth as friends who have been doing this for, well, 28 episodes. And so if you are liking what you see, please follow, share, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment. We are live on a number of platforms. We're on X, Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. And so you can follow us in any of those places. I would recommend that if you are still on YouTube, you probably want to migrate over to a different platform. We just never know how things are going to go over there. But yeah, it's great to see you guys. I've had some things going on. Dave has been super busy working on another book. And so we were trying to get this show on the road last week, and it's kind of good that we didn't, don't you think, Dave? Because more has happened since then. And so
I,
the timing is good.
yeah, whenever we have a little delay, I'm always a little bit I'm never worried to delay our shows because it almost always works out that there's something important that we're waiting for. And on
Yeah.
the day that we do this show, the
Yeah.
day before, everything just starts breaking loose. And so I'm always
Yes.
chill about that.
And it's like, it's almost like the boss is watching, yeah. Um, so,
Hey, boss, if you're watching, what color tie do you want him to wear this time?
I think I really like when he wears that purple, like, there's, like, a lavender tie that he wears sometimes. But,
The
if he
purple one?
wore the yellow one if he wore the yellow one again, that would be fine too. But the purple one could be sort of a dig to the EU, um, just because they think they're royalty and all that kind of stuff. But either the purple or the yellow would be good. Um, and maybe if he made some golf jokes, that would be fun because everybody's been dragging him about playing golf. Uh, so I'm like, they don't have enough. They don't have enough to complain about that now they're mad that he went to Scotland and played golf at his estate up there.
Yes.
Whatever.
And
Um,
he's also um, potentially going to wangle a trade deal with the EU, maybe. We'll see. But the guy's taking a vacation. And he's a working vacation.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think the interesting thing about the EU is, I was trying to explain this to somebody the other day. They have gotten away with so much for so long. And people who are upset and screaming about, oh no, 30% tariffs, my European import luxury goods are going to go up in price. Well, first of all, we don't actually need European luxury imports. But secondly, our country has been tariffed to death by the EU. I mean, if you try to buy a an American car in Europe, for example, it's not cheaper to do that. It's tariffed. Everything that we try to send to them is tariffed. And that's where the basics of economics have to come in. Trump isn't trying to be mean or retaliatory. What he's trying to do is he's trying to get our country economically on a level playing field with all of these other countries. That's it. It's very
Right.
simple.
Right.
And Yeah, people who think that he's gonna destroy our economy, that everything is gonna get too expensive, stop listening to MSDNC, stop listening to CNN. They're trying to scare.
They've been wrong about everything, especially as related to tariffs. Uh,
Yeah,
the only thing that is causing any issues right now is the prime interest rate.
yeah,
Inflation is flat. There's virtually no inflation right now.
yeah.
Job growth is skyrocketing. Investment is skyrocketing. The economy's doing great. Gas prices are down. Food prices are down. I mean, look, Trump knows what he's doing with the tariffs. He's actually, we're going to start paying off the debt with the revenue coming in
Yeah,
from tariffs.
yeah.
There's been hundreds of billions coming in already in tariffs. And August 1st is when the tariffs really kick in.
Mhm.
So just, take a Xanax. You'll be okay.
Go outside, touch some grass,
Touch some grass,
etcetera, and
climb
I
a water tower, whatever,
well, the other thing is he said the other day, that he's actually we're gonna have so much money coming in that we may be looking at rebate checks. And,
Yes,
of course, the
I
usual.
saw that. I was like, "What? You can do repay? Pay down the
Well,
debt, man. Come on."
that's what he's been saying. He said before our country stopped relying on tariffs and relied and switched over to personal income tax, and to the level of corruption that our members of Congress have.
We had excess cash reserves,
We had so he keeps saying we had so much cash, we didn't know what to do with it.
right?
And, I believe him, right? If because and here's the other thing, whether you think he's a good guy or not, you cannot deny his financial prowess. You cannot deny his financial successes. You can't deny that. I mean, that's a simple fact on paper. And, he's a he's got the Midas touch. Everything he touches turns to gold. And he knows how to build. He knows how to build wealth. And that's what he's doing for this country. And that's what he's been saying for a very, very long time, that he wants to make America great again in terms of the things that made this country wealthy and healthy and great, etc. And people who are still under the illusion that when he says make America great again, he's talking about some ridiculous version of 1950s America with segregation and things like that, or back to slavery, or ridiculous things like that. That's not what he's talking about at all. He's talking about people being able to live their lives, buy a house on one income, live the American dream, have things made in America, have jobs that aren't outsourced to foreigners at lower wages. Those are the types of things that he's talking about. And I say this sometimes kind of jokingly, but for real, when you go into his properties, the first time I ever went to a Trump property was his golf resort down in Florida. And you know, everything is so well made. It's just it is so solid and so um and so beautifully constructed that, in the bathroom, the toilet paper holders are like solid. They're gold colored. I think they're brass, but you could stand on one of those. You could stand on them. And I think for people who pay attention to these types of things, that's no small thing, because how many times have you been in a public restroom where all of the fixtures are falling off the walls because of cheap materials and cheap constructions? Especially things that have been renovated in public buildings in the last 20, 30 years. Everything is falling apart. You go into a Trump property, and I'm just going to say it, you can literally stand on the toilet paper holders in the stall if you needed to or wanted to.
If a spider crawled into the stall, you may actually want to stand on the toilet
That's
paper
right.
holder,
That's
right,
right.
Denise? Um,
That's right. Exactly. Exactly.
when the spider comes into the bathroom, yeah, it's time for Dave to go into action. And she's up on top of the toilet paper holder. Kill that damn spider or get it out of here.
That's what I'm saying, exactly, and I'm just saying that, to me, it seems like a small data point, but it's actually a big one because
Yeah,
Trump pays attention to details down to the granular level, right? He's not
right,
outsourcing the detail of how strong a bathroom fixture is.
right.
And like all the counters are granite, marble, things like that. He's not using that cheap government surplus melamine crap that falls apart that you see in airport bathrooms. Yeah.
Well, his brand, his reputation is built on quality.
Yeah. And
And if you want to be known for, a quality product, you don't skimp, you don't cut corners, you buy good
that's
stuff.
right. That's right. And you get a deal on it. and
And you get a deal on it.
and you show up at the Federal Reserve and with
And
your
get to troll the Fed chair in his own building, making him look like Mr. Magoo.
that
That
was the
that
best
was
thing.
entertaining.
I don't know. I mean, I think Jerome Powell is running a close second to pencil neck in terms of just the overall effect. I mean, he was squirming and everybody that argues with Trump, they should know. Like he should have watched the LA mayor. He should have watched who's that the governor of Maine who argued with Trump.
Oh yeah.
It never pays, never pays. And here's Jerome Powell on live TV with his little pencil neck
Yeah.
standing there next to the boss and arguing about what's what. I
What the cost is of the Trump. It's like, hey, wait a minute, hang on a second. Let me here's the this just came in, and this is the cost of this building. It's over $3 billion right now. And Paul's like, no, it's not. And he's like, look, I got the receipts. Here's a piece of paper, just read it.
yeah.
Don't argue with me.
Yeah, yeah, and he's like and he goes, "Well, that's a building that was already done or something," and then Trump goes,
Right,
"Well, it's part of the overall scope.
right.
So, here's the receipts." I loved it. I loved watching that. Okay, and so speaking of receipts, do you think that we should move to the really serious portion of our show now, or should we talk about more troll type things? What do you wanna do? You wanna
You're the
jump
boss.
right in?
I am here for whatever you want to talk
Okay. You
about.
guys you guys
I
wanna
don't have
talk
an
about
agenda.
you guys
I'm
wanna talk
just
about
so when I heard John Ratcliffe dropping nuclear bombs about Spygate this morning, I was like, this is going to be the best day ever.
Okay,
God.
so let's jump to that. I think we should play
All right.
that video. So one of the people go ahead to give some background
So,
on Maria Bartiromo because she's
little
been
background.
following this.
Right.
Yeah.
So, ever since Tulsi Gabbard 3 weeks ago, well, it was actually John Ratcliffe who started this whole thing. He's the one to blame for this. If you hate Trump and you're concerned that your favorite people are going to end up in prison, you can blame John Ratcliffe. So here's what happened. John Ratcliffe is a former federal prosecutor. He became a member of Congress. He sat on several intelligence committees. He was on Judiciary Committee. As a former federal prosecutor, he knows a lot about the law. And then during the first Trump administration, John Ratcliffe served as director of national intelligence for a while. He did the same job Tulsi Gabbard is doing right now. He was Trump's first DNI. And Trump repeatedly on Twitter, on the air, I'm officially declassify all the documents related to this Russia hoax. Said it over and over again. Here's the problem. People are asking, why did none of that stuff get declassified? Why was it not made public? Here's why. Because a lot of that information is siloed into intelligence agencies. It is the property of the CIA. It is sitting in a vault at the FBI. It's the agency director who is responsible for overseeing and authorizing the declassification of documents that the agency holds. So Ratcliffe and then Rick Grinnell, who was DNI after him, neither one of them were able to get at these documents because Mike Pompeo and then Gina Haspel, the two
Mhm.
CIA directors under Trump, would not authorize the
Mhm.
declassification. They sat on them. They would not let them be released. So they couldn't do anything. So this time around, Trump gets reelected, and Ratcliffe's like, hey, make me CIA director. I'll go in there and I'll declassify everything and give it to whoever your DNI is, and we can make it public. So now, 3 weeks ago, John Ratcliffe has started to declassify all of these documents related to the Russia hoax that have been sitting in the CIA vault for 7 or 8 years.
Mhm.
He declassifies some of them and then makes criminal referrals to the DOJ for John Brennan, former CIA director, and James Comey, our beloved former FBI director. Ratcliffe made criminal referrals to the DOJ, starting out with lying under oath. And he made a criminal referral. He handed the documents, and now it's up to the DOJ to do their investigation with the FBI, and then start charging people. So then Tulsi has been on the news for the last couple of weeks because she's the
Mhm.
director of national intelligence.
Yeah.
She is working with John Ratcliffe, working with Kash Patel, working with DOJ, coordinating the release, the coordinated release, and then handling of all those documents. And then she made a criminal referral to the DOJ for Barack Hussein Obama. She has continually hammered the point that this whole Russiagate hoax is a conspiracy. It's a treasonous conspiracy against the Trump administration. And she made a criminal referral to the DOJ for Obama. And now people's heads are exploding. Like, wait a minute. Is Obama going to prison? What's going on? Like, Comey, Clapper, Brennan, all these, are they going to get charged? Yes, they
Yeah.
are going to get charged.
Yeah.
So this morning, people have been then arguing about, well, what about the statute of limitations? This is all old
Yeah.
stuff. The statute must have run out. And John Ratcliffe, former federal prosecutor, one of the bombshells he dropped this morning on Maria Bartiromo is that no, the statute of limitations has not run yet because this is a conspiracy, not a conspiracy theory. It is a conspiracy is a felony. It's a criminal statute. Conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to commit wire fraud. There's a lot of different conspiracy statutes. Statute of limitations 5 years, and that the statute of limitations starts when the last act in furtherance of the conspiracy has been committed. And as Ratcliffe notes, as you're going to see in the video in a minute, they are continuing to this day to commit acts in furtherance of this felonious conspiracy. So that's the lead in. Do you want to roll the tape?
I will, yes. And let me find it here. It's about 5 minutes, and we'll let it run, and we'll come back and discuss. So if you haven't heard this yet, get ready. It's a bombshell.
Get your popcorn.
Look, our audience knows this, thanks to you and thanks to Devin Nunes. Our audience is well aware of what took place here, but we want to see accountability. Many of the statute of limitations have expired. It's been almost 10 years for many of these folks who did this. But John Brennan testified to Congress, and so did Hillary Clinton, within 5 years. I think it was in 2020, right, and then again in 2021. Are those statute of limitations still live? Tell me if, in fact, we could see a criminal prosecution here, as you just the other day, 3 weeks ago, have, in fact, referred criminal referrals to the DOJ.
Well, Maria, so part of what came out last week was about how John Brennan, Clapper, Comey, they all pushed the known fake Steele dossier into intelligence community assessments and as the basis for Crossfire Hurricane and all that. But what hasn't come out yet, and what's going to come out, is the underlying intelligence that I have spent the last few months making recommendations about final declassification and sent that to the Department of Justice that will come out in the John Durham report classified annex. And what that intelligence shows, Maria, is that part of this was a Hillary Clinton plan, but part of it was an FBI plan to be an accelerant to that fake Steele dossier, to those fake Russia collusion claims, by pouring oil on the fire, by amplifying the lie and burying the truth of what Hillary Clinton was up to. And you're right, Maria. John Brennan testified to John Durham in August of 2020. He also testified to the House Oversight Committee in 2022. Hillary Clinton testified before John Durham under oath in 2022. James Comey testified before the Senate committee in September 2020. All of that's within the last 5 years. And much of that testimony is, frankly, completely inconsistent with what our underlying intelligence that is about to be declassified in the Durham Annex, what that reflects. And so, you know, Pam Bondi does have a strike force. It is a different Department of Justice, a different FBI, and an opportunity to look at how these people really did conspire to run a hoax, a fraud on the American people and against Donald Trump's presidency. And so coming forward, we understand that they did this, but now we need to understand how they did this. And I think that's why you see the left losing their minds over this, Maria, saying, why are you spending time? This is vindictive. You're going back. This is Donald Trump, you know, seeking retribution. It's not. Donald Trump's election by the American people was a statement, Maria. They said to everyone, we know what you did to Donald Trump, and we reelected him because we know this was all fake. We know it was a hoax. Now we want to understand how you did it so that it can't happen again. And that's what this declassification process that we're undergoing right now, what's going on, why it's so important, and why there can be accountability and preventability to prevent these same people that did it in 2016 with the Steele dossier, with the Hunter Biden laptop in 2020, from doing it again in the future.
So what I think I hear you saying is there is still an opportunity for indictments, potential prosecutions, accountability from those people who may have lied under oath, like John Brennan, James Comey, and perhaps Hillary Clinton.
Well, that's why I've made the referrals that I have. DNI Gabbard has made referrals, and why we're going to continue to share the intelligence that would support the ability of our Department of Justice to make bring fair and just claims against those who have perpetrated this hoax against the American people and this stain on our country.
Director, one other question on this. Tulsi, as well as President Trump, used the word treason. Is there a statute of limitations on treason?
Well, Maria, what I would say is this, is there is no doubt in my mind that the people that we just talked about conspired. They conspired against President Trump. They conspired against the American people. And so I'll leave it to Pam Bondi and our Department of Justice, Kash Patel, and our FBI to investigate the conspiracy to do what and what charges that they're capable of bringing. But again, I don't think statute of limitations are going to impact, because in a conspiracy, Maria, the statute of limitation doesn't start to run until the last act in furtherance of that conspiracy. And Maria, part of why this is so important is the people behind this are still furthering the conspiracy. They're refusing to admit or acknowledge what they did in 2016 and what they did in 2020 was wrong. And so I think that's why this is so important, and why I'm excited about what the American people will see very shortly and what's to continue to come.
We'll wait for that John Durham report and the annexed classified declassification and release of that in this week or in the upcoming.
All right.
Wow. Okay. I want to say, I want to touch on something that you were talking about before with declassification, because people are probably still thinking, oh, it's not going to happen, whatever. I can't emphasize enough. Kash Patel has been on this show talking about this. Sam Faddis has been talking about this. People who have been embedded in these agencies have prevented the declassification or release in spite of Trump's orders. And so we're in a different season. There's a new sheriff in town, and the people working for him are no longer embedded holdovers, and they are not RNC plants. So we need to be aware of that as we go forward.
The difference is Chris Wray, who was Trump's FBI director, was covering up for this conspiracy. He was covering up the fraud, the Russia hoax. Mike Pompeo at CIA and State Department. Gina Haspel, she was Trump's second CIA director. All of these people were sitting on documents, lying to Congress, and refusing to allow declassification of any of this. The difference this time around is Trump sat down in the 4 years he was not in that Oval Office, and he made a list and he interviewed people, and this time he has all the right people in all the right places. He's got John Ratcliffe at CIA, who's going to start massively declassifying all of this stuff. He's got Kash Patel at FBI, who's going to work to also declassify information inside the FBI. I'll tell you this. For those of you who don't follow Catherine Herridge, you might want to follow Catherine Herridge, the lady with the pink and yellow highlighters, because she is getting dirt that is coming out. She has sources, and she was dropping information last week about Hillary Clinton's email server. The illegal, unsecured email server that had special access programs and top secret files on it that she was allegedly selling to foreign nations. And if Kash Patel decides to reopen the FBI's investigation of Hillary Clinton's email server, there's a whole lot of people going to prison, because Comey killed that investigation and had to silo that thing so that it didn't get out. This involves Loretta Lynch, and it involves the Tarmac meeting, and it involves a bunch of things back in 2016 and 2017. But if Kash reopens that email investigation, you're not going to believe the stuff that's going to come out of that investigation. And I'm saying this because we have Kash at FBI. He can reopen all of these investigations that Comey squashed, right? DOJ, we have good attorneys at DOJ who are smart. I've been following a lot of in the appellate division of the DOJ, at least, the appeals, the motions that they're filing at the appellate court level, at the Supreme Court level, they're doing some amazing lawyering. I follow a bunch of attorneys on X, and they do spaces where they talk about all the relevant federal cases, appellate cases, Supreme Court cases that are going on. And this is a bunch of attorneys. They sit around and talk about this. They're all stunned at the high degree of proficiency that the DOJ attorneys are operating at right now in arguing these cases. Say whatever you want about Pam Bondi. She has a very strong crew of attorneys working at the DOJ right now. They're very capable. So again, like John Ratcliffe said, it's a different administration. There are different people in there, and they're not siloed, and they're all working together. So the people at DOJ are working with FBI. They're working at ODNI. They're working with the CIA. They're coordinating their messaging, and they're coordinating documentation. This is a smooth running machine, in my opinion, right now. And I think we're going to be surprised at the information. And I'm not going to make predictions about indictments and arrests and all that. I learned my lesson from 8 years ago, right? I'm simply looking at this going, I think these people are serious about what they're doing.
I think so too. And I think that it's a whole different landscape. And even the fake news, even though they're trying to run interference and trying to discredit what's happening, they don't have they just don't have the power that they had. And since the dissolution of USAID, it looks like they don't have the funding that they had to run these propaganda operations. So now we have NPR, PBS have been defunded, and we have The View going off the air. We have Stephen Colbert going off the air. Who else did I miss? This is not coincidental. This is not by accident that they are being removed from the playing field. And I expect to see more of that happening. And in fact, it wouldn't surprise me if we get to the point that we have a fair and balanced um, field of journalists once again in these networks.
Well,
I think that
our
may be coming. I hope.
yeah, our favorite FCC chair, Brendan Carr,
Yeah.
is working on that very subject right now. And Chuck Todd and all the loser talking heads in the mainstream media are panicking because Brendan Carr, FCC chair, is working toward holding news outlets accountable for dishonesty and disinformation, and actually maybe putting in place guidelines requiring the media to tell the truth. And they don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
might be
yeah,
wrong.
it's a different playing field
I may
around.
be mistaken about the View. I thought that they were leaving. Somebody mentioned, TR on X said that they go off the air for summer hiatus. So maybe it's just a summer break, but maybe it'll be permanent.
Who goes off the air?
The View. The
Oh
View.
yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Not my thing.
I thought they were gone, 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 but I may be wrong. But we'll see what happens. I think the point is, like you're saying, Brendan Carr is on this. They're trying to restore again just a level playing field, and I think we're going to use this phrase a lot because when it comes to Trump, you will hear people. Like Chuck Todd saying things like revenge, this is his revenge tour, and things like that. Even the Wall
Right,
Street Journal, that's not what this is. He's trying to get America back on a level playing field, and he's trying to restore integrity for the sake of the American people. He believes that you deserve the truth, even if it hurts. And
right.
one of the things that I think has been interesting, somebody put the question up the other day, why is it so hard? Why is it that conservatives seem open to having conversations about hard topics and uh, liberal Democrats don't? And I think it's because we are of the mind, most of us are pretty independent and we want the truth no matter how hard it is.
Right.
And the Democrat mindset has largely been a collectivist mindset where they actually don't want the truth. They want what feels good.
Well,
And
they want to everyone to buy into the narrative that furthers their own personal agenda, whatever that agenda is. Whether that's,
mhm,
I have brothers who are so far left. Oh, gosh, they're literally communists, and they're seriously concerned that the Earth is going to be destroyed by greenhouse gases,
mhm,
and they're just as far left as you can go. So all
yeah,
of their talking points, all of their narratives are all about that issue. That's their
mhm,
issue,
mhm,
and they don't want to hear about any scientific evidence
right,
research contrary to
right.
that. They just won't listen to it.
It's very much based in emotion, and
Yeah,
when the pandemic came, that was what was used to get people into compliance. It was based on fear. It was tapping into people's fear and then
right,
getting people to make an emotional decision and to drive the entire population based on emotional reactions.
right,
And when you can do that, you can shut down a person's ability to reason. That's scientifically proven, especially when you tap into fear. And this
yep,
is why I'm going to do a little plug for your work, Dave, because it is important for people to be able to understand how to get past a life that is held captive to emotional wounding, emotional uh, deep disability, and to get healed of those things so that you can become a rational thinker and a person of faith. Those two actually can work hand in hand, and they should. So I'm going to put your link up here. So Dave, let's just talk a little bit about that because emotional healing is so critical right now for people to be able to handle the truth. It's just if you have a strong basis in your own self-worth and your understanding of who you are, but also if you've been through the work of healing, it's much easier to handle the truth.
yeah. I think that's true. Um, a lot of people go through life um, either suffering chronic anxiety and fear
Mhm.
and sort of panic attacks over all of the imagined things that can come against them, come against society, their family,
Yeah.
whether it's financial issues, environmental issues. There's a myriad of different problems that people see as potential threats to their existence. And I think a lot of that is based in emotional trauma. It's rooted in emotional trauma, much of which happens when we're children. That the environment we're raised in, whether it's either just overbearing or outright abusive parents, siblings, neighbors, teachers, all of that can cause emotional wounds to the soul. And when you grow up to be an adult and you've got a traumatized soul, it affects the way that you interact with your family, your friends, the way you see the world, the way you see yourself. And I've been teaching on emotional healing for almost 10 years now, and I have seen thousands of people whose lives have been turned around 180 by just going through this simple emotional healing process. We have people on Telegram in the chat who are posting testimonies all the time about uh, the freedom and the change of perspective, the disempowerment of lies and fear and anxiety as a result of going through emotional healing. So, if you're dealing with those things, I would strongly recommend going through the process. The book Emotional Healing Made Simple is it's an in-depth discussion of the entire spectrum of emotional trauma and healing, from minor emotional trauma up to mind control and satanic ritual abuse and everything in between. If you're interested in the subject, it's a good book. And yeah, there you go.
Yes, and it's yeah, it's just it's really important, especially as you go through, I guess we would call it the emotional roller coaster of seeing what's happening in the news. And especially a lot of people are new to this, and it can be very overwhelming. And so I think it is important to understand and to be able to identify some of the things that are happening. And if you're more in touch with who you are, if you've been through that healing, Dave makes things very accessible so that you can read and learn on your own. You could always get with a group of people and do this as well, but that is something that I think is really critical as we go into this next phase. So get yourself squared away so that you can handle what is happening, and you can also walk into the destiny that God has for you. Because if you're not squared away, you can't help other people, and you can't even be a good parent or child or spouse.
Put your own oxygen mask on first.
Yes, exactly. That's another way of saying it. So uh, yes, exactly. And so I think I just wanted to give that little plug because it came in at that moment. And I wanted to go back to the video. We just, if you're coming in, you're late. We just saw a snippet of an interview this morning with CIA Director Radcliffe and Maria Bartiromo. And one of the things that he said that was very interesting to me was that because she was asking about the statute of limitations, and this is something that has come up a lot, where if you can or cannot charge somebody for a crime once the statute of limitations has run out. And he said something very interesting with conspiracy is that these people just keep going. And I mean, Q told us these people are stupid. And I think they're just doubling down now because they are persisting in the furtherance of the conspiracy. And that's pretty much what Radcliffe said. So instead of
Yep.
shutting up and lawyering up, they're out there running their mouths and persisting in spreading the lies. That is how smug and self assured they are.
Yep. So let me bring you a couple of relevant points about
Okay.
conspiracy. This is look, I'm not an attorney, but I've done a little bit of research, and I follow a lot of attorneys on X, and I kind of lean heavily on their perspective because they've, well, they're attorneys, they know the law, and some of them are like Shipwreck Crew. Shipwreck Crew is a former federal prosecutor, so he knows criminal law inside and out pretty well. I'll say this about conspiracy. Here's what John Ratcliffe did not say. It needs to be pointed out. A conspiracy, as defined by the federal criminal statutes, is an agreement between two or more people to commit a crime. That's it. That's the definition of criminal conspiracy. So whether it is a conspiracy to murder someone, or whether it is a conspiracy to defraud someone, commit wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy. I mean, there's all kinds of crimes that fit under the conspiracy statute, and it's simply two people agreeing that they're going to commit a crime. All right. Now, in the Russiagate hoax, there are hundreds of people involved in this criminal conspiracy. There are people in the Pentagon, State Department, Director ODNI office, White House, Susan Rice, Ben Rhodes, go down the list, Valerie Jarrett, Samantha Power, all of those people, John Kerry, they were all involved in this. Tons of people at under Loretta Lynch's DOJ, Sally Yates, and all kinds of people at FBI, Strzok, Page, Pientka, Andy McCabe, Comey, all those people. Mm-hmm. James Baker, who was the chief counsel. They're right. All involved in this conspiracy. All right. They're all co-conspirators. And if one of them commits an act in furtherance of the conspiracy, it resets the statute of limitations for everyone involved in the conspiracy.
For the whole conspiracy. So this is going to bring in so many people from the media as well, right? Because the media are carrying water for them and giving them a platform. And also, let's not forget that James Baker was counsel for Twitter at the time, right?
Yes,
and
he was.
So he was right there in the mix of it.
Knee deep in the hoopla.
Aiding and abetting the censorship and the furtherance of the conspiracy on that app.
Who knows? Maybe Jack Dorsey gets dragged into this.
And maybe Suckabuck too.
Yes.
We'll see.
Because they were all taking orders from the FBI to censor people who were talking about the Russiagate hoax. Why did we get suspended from X? Why did we get suspended from YouTube? Why did they take us all down? Because we were exposing the truth. And they were taking orders from the FBI, who was taking orders from Barack Hussein Obama. Mm-hmm. Right. So this criminal conspiracy involves a lot of people. And I have no idea who is going to end up being charged in this case. It's wide ranging. There's a lot of people. But it is by far the most massive criminal syndicate and political event in the history of our country, by far. Nothing's even a close second. This makes Watergate look like nothing. It's the level of criminal activity and the length to which it's still going on today. You talked about the media. Let's talk about the media real quick.
Yeah.
So under the federal criminal statute, if you look up treason, and seditious conspiracy, in that statute, you'll find a part of the statute that talks about the criminal acts committed by members of the press, anyone who publishes, prints, distributes any information that supports the overthrow of the government. Okay, that is the criminal seditious conspiracy or seditious act by the press and their involvement in this
Mhm.
conspiracy. I would not be surprised if members of the press are criminally charged, because this entire operation, it required the members of the media to be involved. What Comey and James Baker and the other James Baker in the Office of Net Assessment, we haven't forgot about you, the guy who leaked Flynn's transcript, allegedly. There's some evidence that there's another James Baker guy who was he was in
Okay.
the Office of Net Assessment in the Pentagon. There have been suggestions and hints that he was actually the one who illegally leaked Flynn's transcript of his call with Ambassador Kislyak that started this whole thing off. Not saying he did it. There are people who think he may have done it. Leaking these classified documents to the press was how they weaponized this system. They would leak to people like Ellen Nakashima, and once the press reported the leak, then the person in FBI, DOJ, ODNI, CIA, wherever, would then say, "Oh, hey, the media is publishing this story. We can now use this to go to court, to the FISA court," which was being run by a judge by the name of Boasberg at the time.
That was the basis for the entire Steele dossier, was the Yahoo story.
Yes,
Was it Yahoo
it
that
was leaked to
it was
Isikoff at Yahoo.
yeah, and
There's
then
two different things. So Flynn's transcript
BuzzFeed
of his
was
call
in
to
it too.
Kislyak was leaked, and also the Steele dossier was also leaked. It was given to John McCain and Harry Reid, and McCain slipped it to Comey and vouched for it, and then Comey gave it to Brennan, I think, and it ended up in the ICA. It ended up getting reported by the media, and then the media, their reporting was used to go to the FISA court and say, well, we have these news outlets that are reporting on this information. It's reliable and credible. We need a warrant to spy on Carter Page. So they had to use the media as a source, as a way to justify furthering this conspiracy. And it'll be interesting to see if any of these crooks in the media end up being charged. I'm not making a prediction, but they certainly could be.
They could be, and I think so. So I think originally it was BuzzFeed that got the information, but then they used the Yahoo reporting as the basis for the FISA warrants. I believe that
BuzzFeed passed on it initially, and Yahoo published the Steele dossier. I think Isikoff was the first one to publish it.
Okay.
And then BuzzFeed and other people, referred to it after Yahoo published it.
Okay. So I knew BuzzFeed was in there at some point, and I think that I've seen people talking about the Smith-Mundt Act, which has to do with propaganda.
Right.
And at this point, that no longer is in effect, which is why the media can get away with pushing propaganda. And so there might be people who are saying, "Oh, what they're doing is legal." But what you're saying is it's a completely different,
two different things.
It's
two different things.
This is furtherance of a conspiracy.
Right. So the Smith-Mundt Act and the fact that the media has been pushing propaganda for decades, that's one issue. This is a completely different issue. These people knowingly took false information and that was illegally leaked to them, and they knew it was illegally leaked to them. They knew it had not been declassified through the normal declassification process, and they took that, published it, because their intent was to aid in the overthrow of a duly elected president. That is not just pushing propaganda.
Yes.
That is being a co-conspirator in a coup against the sitting president.
Exactly. This is really good that we're having this conversation, because I think that we're touching on a lot of the talking points that I believe are going to come up as people are tracking this on social media. Hopefully this will help some of you as you're coming up against smooth-brained idiots who are thinking that this is another nothing burger, because it's not a nothing burger at all. This is treason. This is seditious
But,
conspiracy to
it's
overthrow our government.
interesting. I was shocked at the legal language Tulsi Gabbard is using.
Mhm.
She is very, very clear about her messaging,
Yeah.
using the word treason, using seditious conspiracy.
Mhm.
Those are legal terms. And my questioning was, is she just going rogue
Mhm.
and just speaking off the cuff, or is she being coached by the DOJ to use these terms? And I think she is, because Trump is repeating that exact terminology, and so are other people.
I think so too. I think so too. In fact, I actually saved. Oh, this wasn't the one. I basically, I think I retweeted it. There, some of the other anons are pushing forth the same idea. Not only that Tulsi is on the right track here, but that she is coordinating, right? That her
Right,
talking points are coming from within the intelligence community because
right.
she's in touch with all of these people.
Yeah, so
Right.
Tulsi, as Director of National Intelligence, she is actually, um, well, she supervises the intelligence agency heads. Um,
Mhm.
and she has to coordinate the flow of information between CIA, State Department, FBI, DOJ, Geospatial, uh, all of these different
Mhm.
agencies. She
Mhm.
coordinates the sharing of information.
Yeah.
And so it's not like she's working in a vacuum. She is communicating with these people on a
Mhm.
regular basis.
Yeah.
And they're asking questions and she's answering questions. And hey, we need this information. Can we get this from the CIA? Can we get this from FBI?
Mhm.
And so um, I I believe these people are all singing from the same sheet of music.
Mhm. I think so, and I wanted to take a quick break here, and I think this is a good time to recommend some books that I think people will want to look at and catch up on just in case they haven't. Your Q books being one of them, but before I get to that, I think there's a couple titles that I think people should be looking for. One is Government Gangsters by
Yep.
Kash Patel. I'm going to put a link up here. We actually have that's not it. We have a free oh, where did I put it? A free
Audible.
Audible free trial.
Right.
Yeah, I may not have it up here.
That's all right.
Let me fix the link. But
Kash
basically,
Patel, who is now the director of FBI, wrote a little book called Government
government
Gangsters,
gangsters. Yes.
in which he lays out the case for the
Yeah.
criminality of all these people that
Yes.
we're talking about: Comer, Comer and Clappy, Brennan,
Yeah.
Chris Wray, Obama, all of them.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's government
If
gangsters.
you want to get caught up on all of this junk and what's going on, who the players are, really good book.
Yeah, really good, and I listened to it on Audible. I'll fix the Audible link for you guys so that you can do because it's a free 30-day trial if you use my link. That's why I wanted to put it up. But then the other thing too is somebody mentioned Dan Bongino's books for understanding Russiagate. And then but I think the Government Gangsters one is really good. I would also encourage people to brush up on the history of Trump's first administration, and one of the good books for that is Jared Kushner's book, Breaking History. I think that's a good recap of what a lot of the things that Trump did. If you have other recommendations, say, but I
Yeah,
think those are
I was
good
just
ones.
going to say you may want to dive into some of the Q books that I written the Q
Yes. Hold on
Chronicles,
a second.
because,
Book
um,
4.
but believe it or not, if you don't know much about Q, Q's posts are not primarily about things like Jeffrey Epstein and the pedophiles. That is a very, very small time, less than 1% of the
Yeah.
posts.
Yeah.
If you take all of the subjects that Q talks about over the course of the 6 years that Q was posting, um, Spygate, Russiagate, whatever you want to call it, is by far the most commonly discussed subject in all of the Q posts. And I go and in the 4 books so far, I'm working on a 5th book, which is probably going to highlight specifically people like Andrew McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, Obama, and their roles in
Good.
the Russiagate hoax. But there's already a lot of good information about Russiagate,
Yeah.
Spygate, Obamagate in the Q books. So you might want to start reading the Q books, because it looks like this information is going to become relevant in the future.
Excellent. And this link up here will take you. It says it's Q book 4, but if you find that link, it'll lead you to the other ones.
And by the way,
Yeah.
the books that got banned, the first 2 books in the series that got banned
back.
on Amazon, we republished them under new titles. So Q Chronicles book 1, 2, 3, and 4, they're all available on Amazon now.
Perfect. Yeah. So just follow this link, everybody. It'll take you there, and you can start brushing up on the Q books. So good. Yay. Exciting. And I think that, again, there's a lot to catch up on, but hopefully this is helping everybody to get caught up, and also to get kind of the foundation of what has happened and where everything is going. And anything else? I mean, I think it'd be good to talk a little bit more about Trump's role in this, and sort of where it will go from here. You kind of wonder, because if he doesn't, if we don't have a Republican in the next administration, what will happen? Also, do you think it's ever going to go back to business as usual with the Republican Party, or has it been just completely upended?
I think that the transformation of the GOP is well underway. I don't think it's going to go back to business as usual.
Okay. I hope not.
Because this Russiagate hoax, and especially if the bad actors are brought to justice, if the players in FBI, DOJ, State Department, Pentagon, if they face criminal charges and they're convicted, and by the way, little segue here, real quick. One of my biggest concerns about the prosecution of people involved in Spygate is the venue in which they would likely be charged, which is Washington, D.C., maybe Eastern District of Virginia. Not a very good venue for prosecuting people involved in this conspiracy, because that area is very blue. Washington, D.C. voted 95% for Hillary Clinton in 2016.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to get a conviction against anyone who is perceived to be an enemy of Donald J. Trump in that area. However, in this criminal conspiracy that they're investigating, one of the criminal acts perpetrated by Chris Wray and the goons at the FBI was a raid on Trump's place at Mar-a-Lago, which is in the Southern District of Florida, which is a very red district, which would probably be a really good venue to bring conspiracy charges against these idiots.
So this brings me to like the RICO question, right? Because RICO it can cross state lines.
Correct.
Okay. And so this is a really important point. And this is another talking point that's going to come up, because people are going to try to blackpill and say, oh, forget about it. They're not going to get a conviction. It's Washington, D.C., New York, whatever. But what Dave is saying here is so important, because talk to the hand. But it's because these conspiracies have been
multi-jurisdictional.
Yes, multi-jurisdictional, exactly. Across state lines, you can, I guess, try them in different states where at least even part of the crime took place. Now, that brings us also to the question of military tribunals. Do you think that is going to come into play?
I have no idea. I don't. I have no idea. I would be surprised if military tribunals
Mhm.
are used as part of the prosecution. However,
Mhm.
it's not out of the question. And Q has hinted at it in the past. Trump has retweeted some
Mhm.
military tribunal memes. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a little bit leery this time. I'm trying to keep my powder dry. I don't want to make big
Mhm.
predictions. I don't want to get people's expectations high and then have
Yeah.
it all fall apart and everyone be blackpilled again. So I'm not certain. I really don't have any idea whether they're going to do military tribunals. And the question then becomes, why are we talking about military tribunals? What does that have to do with anything? Well, it's because most attorneys and most prosecutors would agree that Barack Obama is probably immune from criminal prosecution for his participation in this conspiracy
Mm.
because he was president at the time. However, I don't know if that's true. So let me read something to you. This has to do with presidential immunity and the Supreme Court case that was just decided, what, January or February
Mhm.
in President Trump's case,
Right.
where they were trying to prosecute him for acts that he took while he was president. And so the Supreme Court had to issue a ruling on presidential
Mhm.
immunity. And here's what the ruling says. The legal standard as by SCOTUS, uh, clarified by SCOTUS in Trump versus United States. Presidential immunity applies in three different tiers. There's absolute immunity, there's presumptive immunity, and there's no immunity for certain types of acts. So absolute immunity means you cannot be criminally prosecuted for this type of act, period, end of discussion, that you're just not going to be prosecuted for it. Absolute immunity is given for actions within the president's core constitutional
So is
powers.
treason
No, let's not
okay.
talk about treason.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
reading to you what the president, the type of acts the president can be
Okay.
involved in, and whether they are immune from
Okay.
legal prosecution or not. Let's forget about treason right now because that's just going to be a
Okay.
confusing subject. So we're talking about whether or not a sitting president or a past president can be charged for things they
Right.
did in office. For some things that they do, they're given absolute immunity. For other things, there's presumptive immunity. And for other things, there's
Okay.
no immunity. Depends on what that is related to. So for actions that are within the president's core constitutional powers, there's absolute immunity. And examples are signing bills into law, granting pardons, appointing officials. Those are part of the president's core constitutional powers. There is absolute immunity for those acts. They cannot be federally criminally charged, period. Okay? Now we're going to move on to presumptive immunity. For other official acts, that things that the president does as part of his official duties that are not part of his core constitutional powers, but they're still official acts that the president does, including things like communicating with DOJ, communicating with the National Security Council, establishing foreign policy things. Right, those are all acts the president takes. They're not part of his core constitutional powers, but they are official acts, and they're given presumptive immunity, but not
Okay.
absolute immunity. So it's immunity that could be challenged in
Mhm.
court. And then the court would have to decide whether they are truly immune or not, depending on what happens there. Then there are acts that the president takes in which there is no immunity. All right, just
Mhm.
because someone is president It doesn't mean everything they do
Okay.
is immune from criminal prosecution. Let's say Barack Obama went as president, murdered someone in the White House while he was president. People would say, "Oh, he's immune because he's
Are
president."
we
Well,
sure
no,
that
he's
hasn't
not,
happened?
because murdering someone is not part
Right.
of his core
Yeah.
constitutional powers,
Okay.
right? So, just because he's president doesn't mean everything he does is immune from
Mhm.
prosecution. If it's not part of his core constitutional powers and it's not part of his other official
Okay.
duties, it's not immune from
Okay.
prosecution. Hang on, I'm almost done. So, there is no immunity for unofficial acts. These are things that the president does that are not official. So, anything that is personal or political in capacity. So, if he's campaigning, if a president is in office, and this is one of the things they were trying to do with Trump, they were trying to get a prosecution on his acts, claiming that what he was doing when he wrote the checks for Stormy Daniels' attorney, that it was part of his campaign, not part of his presidential acts. Therefore, it's not immune from
Mhm.
prosecution. Anything a president does while they're president that is part of their campaigning or political actives or personal activities are not immune from prosecution. All right. Or threatening people, coercion of certain people to do certain things. If the president is using coercive tactics to get people to do things uh, to work in his favor, those are not official acts. Those are subject to prosecution. So all of that is to say, this argument that Barack Obama is immune from anything that he did while he was president is
Okay.
not true. Um, some of the things he did um, in relation to Spygate are probably going to be challenged in court. I suspect that the DOJ is going to charge Obama, and they're going to take it to the Supreme Court and force Roberts and the Supreme Court to issue ruling on whether or not Obama is immune from prosecution on these things. I think that's where it's going to go.
Thank you for that explanation. I think that's really good. And um, I have a question too, which is that I think it's safe to say, I think everybody is in agreement that Obama was conducting a shadow presidency after he
Right,
left the White House. He never left DC, which is a first for presidents. He moved
right,
down the street and bought a house in Colorama, and he pretty much ran the show, ran Biden from DC. And so
right.
how does that come into play in terms of
I
prosecution?
don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if that has any criminal
Mhm.
implications. But um, you asked about treason. Okay, we'll talk about
Is it
treason.
within the scope?
Yeah. So, because Tulsi has been throwing
Yeah.
around the word treason, Trump has been throwing around the word treason. When we first started talking about Spygate 6, 7 years ago, and Trump was having interviews in the White House, he accused Comey and Strzok and Page of committing treason. Now, Trump is not an attorney,
Right.
and he's not a member of the DOJ, although he is the head of the DOJ. But he's prone to hyperbole and bluster. And the question we were all having at the time is he really serious about the idea that they could be charged with treason or will be charged with treason, or is he just being Trump
Okay.
and
Right.
just trolling people? Like, we don't know. Here's where I'm going to land on the question of
Okay.
treason. Treason as a criminal charge has very specific criteria that have to be met. It's an act that you commit against your own country, generally on behalf of a foreign power, right? So there's this question of, and some people say, oh, you have to be at war. It has to be declared war. Treason is an act of war. There was no war going on
Right.
at the time. So treason doesn't even matter. Well,
We were at
that's
war.
not really
We've
true.
been at war in the Middle East for over 20 years.
Trump, how many times did Trump say during his first administration that he
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
wartime president? Who the heck were we at war with?
Mm,
Right? Well, Trump had said numerous times, hinting that we were involved in a Cold War against China. Not a hot war, not where we were exchanging artillery, but there's an economic war. There's a war of espionage. Certainly, cyber warfare was going on. And the traditional legal view of military conflict as war needs to be updated because a lot of countries no longer engage in kinetic warfare
mhm,
as we saw
right.
100 years ago. There was no cyber warfare 100 years ago. Many nations conduct cyber warfare today. That is warfare.
Yeah.
All right. Cyber hacking is an act of warfare.
Okay.
All right. It's not running tanks and artillery against your enemy and bombing them, but it is warfare. And Trump has long hinted that we're in a Cold War against China and against other countries too, against Iran, against Russia. So the question of, was Trump a wartime president? Was there an act of war? Is interesting. I'm going to bring this up because it's just something to think about. Prior to 2017, under the U.S. criminal statutes, electronic or election interference, as we understand it, did not rise to the level of armed conflict, according to General Paul Nakasone, who was head of the NSA at the time. So he was concerned about foreign actors hacking our elections. And Trump signed an executive order that actually made election interference, electronic election interference, rise to the level of armed conflict.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. So I don't know if that's codified into criminal law, but there's an executive order on the books that takes election interference and raises it to the level of armed conflict. As in, if you hack our elections, I don't know, we might just do some aerial bombing of your military bases. I mean, that's kind of what that meant. Now, I'm saying all of that because Pam Bondi has said the DOJ is looking back interference, election fraud, going back to the 22 and the 2020 elections. And they're going to find fraud. They're going to find hacking. What we don't know is who is going to come out behind it. If China is implicated as the main player backing election interference, going back to 2020, 2022, maybe 2016, that brings into this, again, more information into this question. Were we at war with some foreign power like China? If so, then there's the question, was Obama taking orders from Xi Jinping or colluding with Xi Jinping to remove Trump from office? Because if there is smoking gun evidence, if there's email chains, if there's correspondence from the State Department to Obama, to anyone talking about removing Trump, getting rid of him, getting him out of office on behalf of a foreign power, that becomes possibly a charge of treason. And I'll tell you this: Spygate involved a lot of assets from the UK. So GCHQ, MI6, the David Cameron and Theresa May were all involved in this attempt to remove Trump from office.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They were involved. British intelligence was heavily involved in this. There are all kinds of, if you go on my X account and scroll back a couple of days,
Mm-hmm.
one of the guys, the original Spygate investigators, um, Harold Finch,
Yeah.
Harold Finch posted a infographic showing most of the major UK Spygate conspirators, a little dossier, a little brief information on all of them. This thing was a global conspiracy. It involved Australia, it involved the
Yeah.
UK. We don't know all of the other countries involved, but when people, if you want to talk about treason, if that's your favorite word to
Yeah.
talk about, then you need to start talking about foreign powers that were involved in this conspiracy, and there were foreign powers involved. To what degree, I don't know. What would happen to those people? I don't know. I don't know that there's going to be criminal charges brought against them, but this is a much bigger crime than most people realize.
It's huge. And one thing about that infographic, I know the one you're talking about, that came originally from Epoch Times.
Epic Times.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I believe that you can go on their website and get the PDF download of that
Yep.
so that you can get it in higher resolution, because it's very detailed, lots of details. So this is a good time to take a quick break. Um,
Yes.
we're we've been talking for so long, but it's great. We've got a great audience here. We've got some good moderators over on Rumble. Appreciate Christy, and Millie over there. Wanted to give you a shout out, and as always, a shout out to our regular listeners who've been following for so long. Dave, we've been doing shows together for quite a long time, so it's nice to see people showing up. And welcome to the new people as well. I'm going to take Dave off camera for just a second. We're going to talk about some of our sponsors and partners here at Mary Grace Media, and then we'll come right back. Don't go too long. Don't go away for too long because we're not going to take that long. We'll see you in just a second, Dave. If I can get this to work, my producer is a little under the weather today. Here we go. So, everybody, wanted to remind you that this show is listener supported, which means that when you buy from our partners, when you buy any of the products or click the links and buy something, it goes to the Mary Grace Show to keep us on air. And one of the things that we love to talk about here is helping to preserve and save American farm and ranch land by purchasing our favorite freeze dried beef. This is ground beef. It's kind of blurry here, but I'll get it up to the camera. This is a company called Grid Down Chow Down, and it's griddownchowdown.com. This is a pound of freeze dried beef. You can put water in it, reconstitute it, and make anything that you would make normally with ground beef. It's not jerky, it's real freeze dried beef that has not been cooked. All you need is to add water and then cook it. And we're going to hear from these farmers and ranchers right now, and then we'll be right back to talk to you about a couple of our other partners. Actually, before we do that, I do want to talk about our partners. I want to talk about our partner over at Synapse. This is officialsynapse.com. We work with a functional medicine doctor called Dr. Troy Spruill. He is there to help you with your health questions and to get your health on track. And we just did a show with him the other day, right here on the channel. If you want to go back and watch that, you can. One of the things that came out of that conversation is that we started talking about peptides. And I want to show you something that I've been using. I want to give people a source of peptides that is safe, because there is a world of information out there right now. People have been researching peptides. It's been coming up in social media. There are peptides. Believe it or not, insulin is a peptide, I found out, but people are starting to get curious about it. And I wanted to tell you that there is one peptide that I've started taking, particularly for inflammation and gut health. It's called BPC 157. This is probably one of the most popular, but what you have to be very careful with is quality and purity. And so I wanted to let you know that we do have this on my wellness store. You can click the link right here, or you can click the link in the show notes. But if you go to maryggracewellness.gethealthy.store, you can find this product here. All you have to do is search it. We do have discounts for first-time users, and we have discounts for subscription orders. It is BPC 157, and this is made by Healthgevity. Please, please be careful where you source your peptides. Everything that we have on my wellness store has been vetted for quality and purity, and we are working directly with manufacturers there. So you're not going to run into the issues that people have with sites like Amazon or Walmart when it comes to buying any supplements. We work directly with the manufacturers, and everything has been vetted. So please make sure you use them, especially if you're looking in this new area with peptides. Just go over there. You can buy it right there off of my site. If there's anything else you're looking for and you want to find it on the site, go to info@marygracemedia.com and send me an email. Now we're going to hear from our freeze-dried beef partners here, and then we'll be right back to talk to you more with our friend Dave. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Jordan, and this is my brother.
And I'm Nace, and we're the Grid Down Chowdown, and this is Larry, who is a local rancher that we've partnered with.
Now, Larry, you've been ranching for over 4 generations, is that correct?
That's correct. I'm 3rd generation, my son's 4th generation, and I've got some grandkids that are 5th generation.
Man, that's awesome.
We've been here for quite a while, yeah.
All right, now, Larry, your cattle is grass-fed, grass-finished, and pasture-raised, just like God intended them to be.
Yes, because I want to know what's in that animal,
Right.
what it's been fed, and so the only way to do that is for us to keep it all natural, just like God has done it for years and years and years, thousands of years. How has partnering up with us helped you and your ranch? Well, it's allowed us to develop a market that we didn't have before, one that can get directly to the consumer, and that's great.
And just remember, more importantly, with every package that you buy, we put a salvation track in there. So from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for allowing us to do what we believe that God has us here to do. And just remember, God loves you. He really does.
Amen.
Go to griddownchowdown.com and use promo code MaryGrace. There you go. There's the link. You can click it right there. Griddownchowdown.com. Use promo code MaryGrace. They have pre-made burger patties now. They're freeze-dried. All you have to do is reconstitute them and throw them on the grill, and there you go. You got burgers. It's a really great company. We love these guys. As you saw there, you are helping to preserve American farm and ranch land every time you buy from them. So let's get Dave back on the show here, and we will keep going with our conversation on Conspiracy of Truth, episode 28. Welcome back, Dave.
Your microphone went underwater. What did you say?
Did it? Am I back now?
You're back.
Okay. Well, there you go. All right. Now, we have a lot of people asking about for our thoughts about what's going on with ICE right now, with the deportations and things like that. Do you was there anything else you wanted to cover with regard to the seditious conspiracy topic before we switch over to that?
I think I'm done with Spygate at this point. Yeah, so we can skip over to ICE if you want.
Okay.
I just got some new ice in my drink here.
People
we're having LaCroix.
Nice. Key lime.
Their key lime is the bomb. I love it.
Oh, I'm having a very exciting drink. I'm drinking some electrolytes here because for the first time in I don't know how long, I've had kind of an upset stomach the last 24 hours. But we're getting through it. I'm feeling better already, and thankfully I'm having a show. So let's see. ICE deportations. You know, I've seen a lot of very interesting clips of one of the things that I think is crazy is people interfering with ICE. Like, you know, and I saw a clip yesterday out of California. I think it was Encinita. It was a lady wearing yoga pants, and she was very upset with ICE for taking presumably illegal aliens away from her area. And
Right.
And she was out there like getting in their face, demanding name and badge number. I don't know if you saw that. It was concerning.
No, I'm
And
not really keeping up that much
okay.
on what's going on with ICE.
Well,
I mean, I'm aware a little bit, but I'm not like
right.
consuming all the videos and all the action and stuff. That's
Right.
not my thing
So
right now.
here she is filming them and wanting to go viral, but she's also demanding to know why they insist on covering their faces and concealing their identities.
Right.
Um,
Right.
right. So, do you wanna weigh in on that?
Because of people
Maybe
like you.
Yeah, I mean, what I think people don't get, and this is where the emotional play comes in. This is a good example of people being so easily manipulated in their emotions, and that is that they're so easily manipulated that they can't see past the reality of what's actually going on. They have no idea that Americans are being killed, maimed, raped, victimized every single day. They have
Right.
no idea that your insurance costs are going up, that the cost of everything is going up, that every time you go to Walmart, the reason that things are locked behind uh, locked cabinets is because of illegal aliens. And because of the amount of crime that has been brought into our country through this. And so it's ironic when you see people who've been so emotionally manipulated that they are out there interfering with a law enforcement operation and calling them name, cussing at them. I mean, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing
Yep.
that Americans are acting this way.
Yep.
But what do you think? Where do you think we are? Do you think that we're ever going to get back to a society that was pre flooding the country with illegal immigrants? I mean,
That's a big question.
yeah,
It's quite bizarre when you look at the fact that presidents like Bush, 43, and Bill Clinton were allowed to deport 8, 9, 10, 11 million illegal immigrants. No one said a word. All right. Uh, Obama, I'm sorry. Yeah, even Obama. Obama, I think,
yeah,
like 8 million illegal immigrants. No one said anything. It was fine.
yeah,
Joe Biden allows 20 million illegal immigrants to come into the country unvetted, and Trump has not yet deported 1 million of them. And these people are acting like the end of the world is here.
hmm,
It's just insane.
yeah.
I don't even have words for it.
Yeah, it is. It's just well, but again, here's where the media's role comes in. And if we're talking about seditious conspiracy, I mean, I think the case can be made that these people have been brought in with the intention of destroying our country and bringing America to its knees. I think
Right.
that's part of the conspiracy. What do you think? I mean, do you think
Yeah,
that's
for
something that
sure.
they're going to look at?
Well, they've been doing it in Europe for 20 years
Yeah.
um, under the guise of um, what was their uh, it was done ostensibly because of refugee resettlement, and the Europeans were all gracious and nice, and let's take a few refugees from this country and that country, um, and and they had all these nice sounding political narratives, increasing diversity. You don't want to be a racist,
Right.
um, so they allowed it, and now we're to the point where these countries are just being overrun with
Yeah.
illegal immigrants who have zero interest in being,
Assimilating.
yeah, assimilating into society.
Yeah.
That's not the goal. I
Yeah.
think a lot of these countries are going to end up under Islamic tyranny, somewhat like what happened to Iran, and it's tragic. And I think for a lot of these countries, it's too late. I don't think they're ever going to be able to turn the tide back. Their current political leaders are quite okay with these nations being destroyed. Their culture, their history, everything just being erased because the political leaders are globalists, and the globalists want this homogeneous mixture, this eradication of Christianity, the eradication of cultural identity. They're pushing for a one world global state. And it's tragic that it's gone this far. I don't know if those countries will ever come back. I don't know if the United States will ever come back. Hopefully, we will. I think the long term, if we can keep someone like Eric Trump or JD Vance in the White House after Donald J. Trump goes off to play golf full time, if we can keep that character of leader in our country
Mhm.
and move forward with what Donald Trump is doing right now, keep good people at the top of ICE, Homeland Security, FBI, stay vigilant, continue the deportations, keep the border shut. We might be able to turn it around, possibly. I don't know if it may be too late for some of the European countries.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I can think that. And you know,
And by the way, Eric Trump has mentioned that he's thinking about running in 2028.
and I just want to say that you heard it here first because I was the one who told you that that was
Yes,
going to
you've been
happen.
pushing Eric for a long time.
Yes, and I had a word from the Lord about that he was going to be president. And
Well,
everybody keeps talking about Don Jr. and all that.
nah,
Like,
nah.
no, Eric's going to be the next president.
Eric's the
Yeah.
brains in the family.
And Eric is actually, so this is what I heard from the Lord, that Eric is going to bring America into a level of prosperity that we haven't even imagined under his father, Trump, similar to Solomon bringing in prosperity above and beyond what David, his father, did.
I'll pray into that.
Yes, this is what I was told. Because Trump has been, whether by choice or just by circumstance, largely a wartime president, just like King David was.
Right,
As
right.
his son Solomon, Eric Trump, is going to be the president of true peace and prosperity in our nation. That's what I was told a couple of years ago.
It's interesting. Trump gets involved in politics in his 70s, and Eric Trump is half his age.
Hmm.
To get someone like Eric involved in the political process at his age, having seen everything he's seen over the last 8 years happen,
Yeah.
being able to take counsel from his dad and other people, I think Eric could be a force of nature in the White House. I really do. I would be okay with JD Vance too. JD is a good guy. I like him. Um, and I
Yeah.
like his demeanor. I like his temperament. I like his policies. Um, if you've bought into the Palantir, Peter Thiel conspiracy, whatever. I'm not convinced any of that is a
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
I think it's just people trying to
Yeah.
manufacture narratives who don't like JD Vance. I think
Yeah.
what I've seen so far, I think JD is a good character too.
Hmm.
Either Eric Trump or JD, I would be okay with. Maybe one of them becomes vice president. Well, it could be JD Vance as president for 8 years, and then Eric as president for 8 years.
Yeah. I
could,
mean,
we
yeah.
could lock up the political climate in the United States for
Mhm.
2 decades, an entire generation. We could change. We could totally change uh,
Mhm.
the climate of the United
W
States.
We need to. We need to. We need to get our country back to just the basics, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, and the Democrat Party um, favorability among Democrats is at an all-time low right now. Media
Good.
the way that the public relies on the mainstream media is at an all-time low right now. The conservatives, people who are for common sense and traditional values, we have so much opportunity in front of us right now.
I think so, yeah, and I was just thinking that, and here's okay, another word that God gave me is that this generation of Gen Z now is going to be, the call it's God called them the hero generation. So that's going to be Barron Trump's generation, and that they are actually more conservative than the greatest generation, fiscally,
Wow.
yeah, socially, which is very interesting. But they have the advantage of the technology and the modern advancements that were not available to the greatest generation. They also
Right.
have the emotional component more dialed in. Our greatest generation was very silent about a lot of what they encountered. And so it is interesting, isn't it? Because these kids are locked in, and we think of them, a lot of people like to dish on this generation, but they're pretty dialed in, and there are a lot of very conservative Gen Zs out there. Remember that Trump went on Gen Z podcasts at the behest of his son Barron, during the election, and that was something that got a lot of the younger male voter over to Trump. So I think
Yeah.
there's something to that we do have the ability, the opportunity to bring about a complete societal change back to decency and morals and ethics and the things were,
Well,
yeah.
there's an interesting dichotomy that is happening in society with respect to Gen Z. I think it's affecting them more than anyone else, and that is the push of radical cultural Marxism has been ramped up massively in like the last 8 to 9 years, especially
Mhm.
in the public schools
Yeah.
and in the culture. And there's been this split where some of the people have been sucked into it, and they've totally bought hook, line, and sinker, and they're using gender pronouns, and they're going through their trans surgeries and all the other crap. And they're upset because of every microaggression that comes along. There's that one camp, and then there's this other camp who are like, yeah, we've had it up to here. You guys are crazy. You people are insane. We're following Trump. Screw you
Mhm.
guys.
Mhm.
We're going to go win and make this country great. There has been a dividing in the country.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of Gen Z, a lot of youngsters, Zoomers. They get it, and
Yeah.
they're looking for their chance to stamp their identity on this country.
I think so. I think so. And I think that's a good analysis. And I've had the opportunity to spend more time with Gen Z lately. I have a Gen Z young woman living in my house. And it's interesting because she's mixed, black and white, but she's very steeped in Black culture. And it's been
Sometimes.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes. But it's interesting because I'm seeing a lot of this. But we talk a little bit about politics, and on the one hand, it's hard to understand. I mean, I'm learning a whole new vocabulary. But on the other hand, for the most part, it's a pretty conservative group of kids. They're like, I never hear them talking about things like microaggressions, and like she thinks the whole gender thing is stupid. Um, I mean, it's just like she's like, no. I mean, she's very adamant about it. Like, no, a woman is a woman, a man is a man. And so, and she, she's had the benefit of not having been pushed into our Marxist universities. She's on a different
Right.
track, but in a way, that's good. But so I am seeing a little more firsthand into that generation, and it's definitely not what a lot of people are seeing on social media with these videos of Gen Z kids going viral for being so stupid. I don't think that's the norm. Um,
Yeah, it probably isn't. I
yeah.
think it's a small cross section of the
Mhm.
population, probably.
Right. And also, I think that we have to remember that TikTok and things like that are still being heavily influenced by um, by things like the CIA. At least, we have
And the
to, I mean,
CCP.
and the CCP. And so they're pushing an agenda
Right.
on American youth and we're seeing things trending that aren't necessarily representative of what's true across the board. Right?
Yep.
And I've noticed that in general, that when you're on social media, the narrative and the overall perspective and perception is pushed very hard by what's allowed to trend on social media. And that's another grounds for being very aware of what you're being told. Like, what are you being told? What are you being sold? And who benefits from what's
Yeah,
out
and I think the fact that they're pushing this so hard it's the tell. And some people are like, the thing is, you sound like you're selling me something. like
Yeah,
like why are you so invested in this issue? The harder you push these
yeah.
crazy issues, the more it kind of sets off people's red flags, and they're like,
Mhm.
yeah, you had me there for a while, but I'm not buying it anymore because you went a little too far.
You're pushing it so hard.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And somebody mentioned something on here about an entire generation that had their minds altered by medical intervention, which I think is very interesting.
Yep.
That a lot
True.
of this gender confusion and things like this may actually be real because of the toxic load that is on the bodies of these of children who came up in the last 25 years. Very
Yeah.
interesting, isn't it? I
Yeah,
mean,
that is an
and so
interesting thing to
and
think
so
about.
now Alex Jones, the gay frogs, right? Apparently,
Yes.
he wasn't completely off
He
base.
he he was on the right track.
Yeah, and that's who knew? Who
Who
knew
knew?
that we would be validating something that crazy? But yeah,
Hey,
that's where we are.
are we
Yeah.
going to do a book launch?
You ready? Well, we
Yeah.
don't have the link. Where's the link, Dave?
Look, this is a pre-launch of a book.
Oh, this is a teaser?
Denise is working on the file to upload to Amazon right now. We've been working on this thing for like 3 or 4 days.
Well,
So
Denise,
we're hoping to hit the publish button like either tonight or tomorrow, depending on how long it takes her to finish the interior file. But this book is hopefully going to be available tomorrow.
so Denise is over there slaving away while we're just sitting here yucking it up.
She is slaving away, doing some interior work and doing a little bit of editing some of my writing because it has to fit inside of the page just a certain
Mhm.
way, and can't have a little letter I on the end of the line by itself or letter
Right.
A by itself into the line. She's an old school graphic designer, and she has very high standards for how a book should look, and so she's working on it right now.
She's right.
And
Well
yeah,
done.
we're going to be launching my first science fiction novel
Look at that. Look how
here
beautiful that is.
in the next day or two.
So,
And
tell us.
there's the cover. There's the cover. The title of the book is Obturious. Beneath a Crimson Sky is the subtitle. And it if you if you like science fiction, I think you're going to enjoy this book. I've been working on it for 2.5 years. The storyline was actually given to me in a dream from God almost 3 years ago. I had a dream and I saw this the storyline, the synopsis of the story. And I was like, wow, that would make a really good book. And then I decided to start working on the book. So it is the first in a trilogy of books. It's the first one. I'm working on all 3 books simultaneously. So the draft of the second book and the draft of the third book are finished. I have the basic concept for all 3 books is finished. The drafts are finished. This particular book, well, since it's the first one, we decided to publish it first. And it is it's an interesting story. Let's see, what can I say about this story without giving away spoilers? Because there's a little bit of mystery in this story. But essentially, the main character is a guy named Adam, He's a mountaineer, and he's kidnapped. He's kidnapped and taken to a planet billions of miles from Earth.
That's like one of my worst fears growing up. I like watching Lost in Space, and
Yes,
oh, that was horrible. I had nightmares about that. Go ahead.
he's
Okay.
he's literally kidnapped and wakes up in a spaceship on a planet billions of miles from Earth.
Just
And
that's like my worst nightmare.
right. Well, he is selected for the mission because he has a unique skill set,
Okay.
and he's thrown out onto this planet to survive the wilderness, an alien wilderness, mind you, and look for intelligent forms of life and hopefully communicate with them and not be destroyed by them. And he goes through a massive personal transformation in this whole process. He is dragged into the depths of despair like no character I've ever written about.
Wow.
Even worse than Charity and probably Shiloh. He gets put through the ringer pretty hard. As I was writing a story with Lydia, my editor, Lydia's like, no, we need to make him suffer more. Put him through the grinder. I'm like, all right, we're going to put him through the grinder some more.
This is okay. Well, a couple things I want to say. People are asking about the style. We talked about this a little bit the last time we did a show, and I made a comment that I thought it sounded a little bit like C.S. Lewis because some of your writing does trend in that direction. Would you say
I've got C.S. Lewis's trilogy sitting right next to me.
okay?
His space trilogy.
Okay, so
Yes.
if people like that, they may
Yes.
be leaning
This
toward this book. Okay.
this is I'm calling this a 21st century version of C.S. Lewis's space trilogy. I really loved the second book in C.S. Lewis's space trilogy. So it's 3 books: Out of the Silent Planet, Pearlandra, and then the third book is That Hideous Strength. Pearlandra is one of the best books I've ever read. I just love that book. The world that C.S. Lewis created, the characters, the flow, the dialogue, just the world itself, the description of the sea and all the plants that were floating around. I just like, it's such a good story. And so, yes, I took some inspiration from C.S. Lewis, and spoiler alert, this book has a lot of spiritual symbolism in it. It is chock full of allegory, spiritual symbolism. There are all kinds of elements in the story that relate to God's kingdom. I'm just going to say that. I don't want to ruin any of it. There's tons and tons of symbolism in here. There's even some poetry. There's an entire chapter that is a poem that I wrote a couple days ago. And Denise is like, you decided to write a poem for this? And I went, well, it just felt like the right thing to do. So there's buried in like chapter 74, there is the entire chapter is poetry.
Interesting. Wow, that's a twist.
There's a little bit of everything in here.
Now, one thing that somebody mentioned wanting a signed copy. One thing about Dave's books is that anybody can get a signed copy of any of Dave's books by sending him a check by snail mail, right? And
Snail mail. Or I have a couple other ways that I can do transactions, which I don't want to talk about publicly because I don't want them to be removed again. But I don't charge any extra for signed copies. Some authors will charge like 40 or 50 or 60 bucks for a signed copy of a book. I don't charge any extra for the sign. You pay for it whatever it would cost on Amazon plus some shipping. That's what I charge.
Okay.
Generally 20 bucks for a signed copy.
Okay, that sounds awesome. And you mentioned Charity and Shiloh, and I am going to I'll put the link up here. This is a chance to get the Audible link up here. So Gates of Shiloh, Charity's Garden, if in case you just can't wait for this book, go ahead and get these. you can get, I don't think these are on Audible yet. Now I'm confusing everybody.
They're not on Audible.
They're
No.
not on. So here's the set right here. You
They're
can
on
get the set.
Kindle, and if you have one of those little programs that can read a book to, you
Okay.
can listen to.
Yeah.
You know.
So you can just jump on this link and you can get the books from there. And then you can bookmark Dave on Amazon. And then you can go back and look for Upturius because it'll be up there very soon. So just
Yeah,
follow
it
follow this
should be
link.
available Monday,
Okay.
Tuesday for sure, I think.
Okay, yeah. So follow this link and you will be able to then find him on Amazon and it'll be easy for you to get the title. Take a screenshot of this, write it down so you won't miss it. And that's a link to all of to Dave on Amazon right there. Charity's Garden, Gates of Shiloh. Go ahead and speed read those and then you can get Upturius in case you're anxious and you don't want to wait for that book. Okay, so exciting. This is exciting. This is your first science
I'm
fiction.
excited. I'm very excited. I've been wanting to get this book out there for a long time. And Lydia and I have literally been working on the editing for almost 3 months right now, on our 5th iteration of edits. And it's kind of funny because as we've gone through the editing, I've been adding chapter after chapter. I literally deleted 20 chapters from this book.
Wow.
In the process, I deleted an entire biome with an entire species, 4 or 5 chapters describing the main character's interaction on this biome because I just didn't feel like it didn't feel like it fit in the story very well. And it was just,
Mhm.
but for what it's worth, some of that concept of what I deleted is going to show up in the 3rd book.
I was just going to say, this sounds like the beginning of a series.
It is.
Okay.
So the trilogy takes place on 3 different planets. Book 1 takes place on a planet called Opturius. It's the 4th planet in a small solar system, and the sun is a red dwarf. And because the sun is a red dwarf, all of the light on this planet is in the red spectrum. There is no white light there. It's all crimson and red and rose and vermilion and burgundy. So the entire story takes place on a red planet. All right. The 2nd book takes place on Earth, and it's going to have the same 2 main characters from the first story will be in the 2nd story. And where one character, Adam, is the main character in the first story, a military officer named Major Harris, who is prominent in the first story, he becomes the main character of the 2nd story. And Adam and Major Harris work together in the 2nd story. And in the 3rd story, they go to yet another planet, a 3rd planet called Madrion, which is in the same solar system as Opturius. And they take a 3rd character with them from Earth, who becomes sort of the 3rd part of their little trio. And he plays a significant role in the story there. And the story on Madrion is closely connected to the story on Opturius. There are things in the first book that you will not really understand what the relevance of them is until you read the 3rd book. And then you'll look back and go, oh, I get it. All this stuff in the first book, this is talking about what's here in the 3rd book. So the nice part about writing all 3 stories at the same time is I don't have to do any retroactive continuity and fix things, in a book I wrote 3 years later because I didn't anticipate all this stuff. The books will flow seamlessly together because they're all being written contemporaneously.
Nice. Well, that's exciting. Everybody's going to be clamoring though. Once the first one comes out, you're going to have to
well, I'm working on I usually work on 4 or 5 books at a time.
No, I don't know how you do that.
So I have another title in the works. It is a book on overcoming fear. And I have another book that is another installment in the Made Simple series called Spiritual Warfare Made Simple.
Okay.
And Denise would like to see me publish spiritual warfare made simple first, and then maybe go back to the second
Mhm.
book in this science fiction trilogy. So
Okay.
I
Well,
have to deal with, the women in my life who have expectations.
and who are also in charge of the graphics and
That's correct.
getting it edited and published. So, yeah, I would take that seriously. Um, so, well, my family just started for the first time. We've been trying to get this going for a long time, but we just started our first reading for our family book group, and we're going through a work of Appalachian fiction right now.
Okay.
But at least one of my family members likes science fiction and is a big C.S. Lewis, actually at least two of them, C.S. Lewis Tolkien fan. So it'd be very interesting to see what the response would be if I float this out as our next book.
Yes,
It
you
may be a
should.
it may be a stretch because I'm not sure everybody will jump in, but we'll see how the first book group goes, and, yeah, we'll see, but at the very least, I'll read it, and then I'll send it to the kids.
Yeah, you
Um,
should you should read it and then try to, well, first you have to decide if you like it or not. And then if you do, you can start, influencing other people and
mhm.
suggesting that they read it.
Yeah, I definitely will send it to my nephew. He's a big well, he's very widely read, but I think this particular genre is something that he'll resonate with. Um, for sure. So, he's kind of a brainiac that way, you know? You and he would probably, like, go down paths that none of us could even imagine when it comes
Yeah,
to
maybe.
this genre. I'm sure. I'm sure of it. But we're coming up on 2 hours here, and, believe it or not, crazy, we've been talking about a variety of topics. I want to let people know if you missed this or if you just got here and you didn't get the notification, it's a good idea to go ahead and sign up for my mailing list over at marygracemedia.com. That way you can get an email prior to the show going live. Dave and I tend to do this particular show about once a month, depending on our schedules. But we will definitely try to keep everybody up to date, abreast of what's going on. But again, the quickest way to find out what's happening is to go get on that mailing list, marygracemedia.com. And I make it easy because then you can just click on the links and go directly to whatever channel you want to watch on. Another thing, Dave, some people were able to catch the very impromptu spaces conversation that we had last week on X.
Right.
Any plans of jumping on again for that?
Well, maybe.
It's so glitchy.
I know. I can't host spaces. I can't host spaces on my phone. I can't start a space on
Yeah.
my phone, and the computer is not really the way to do it.
Mhm.
So it's something we should discuss.
Yeah.
And as as we move forward with the Spygate, especially when we get into if people are going to be charged and prosecuted, and then we go to trials, I'll definitely want to be jumping on spaces and talking with whoever can host a space on that.
Mhm.
And if the 17th letter of the alphabet decides to come back and start posting, um, I will definitely be jumping in on some spaces and maybe
Yeah.
co-hosting.
Yeah. I can
Uh,
host. It works for
so
me usually. Usually.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're going to be more active on spaces in the
Mhm.
future.
Mhm. I think yes, absolutely. So I want to go back to something that we talked about in the beginning of the show, which is that we were talking about what color tie should Trump wear. Now, last time it was
Yellow,
we had a very specific question. If this, then this. And
right?
so I want to pose a question now to President Trump. He may or may not be able to answer it. But I think a lot of people want to know this. And that is, please wear the yellow tie if there is any likelihood of Hussein actually paying the price for what he did to you and to this country. You think that's a good question?
Sure.
You don't like it. Should
Well,
we be
he's
more
going to wear
gracious?
that yellow tie again eventually.
He's
So
gonna no, but he did it like 2 days after the conversation.
I know. I was there. I saw it.
And he
I was like,
even said he made reference to Tippy Top. So that was not just mere coincidence. Right?
can I modify the question?
Yes, and he could use the word, he could call him Hussein. Call
Well,
him
he's going to
Hussein.
do that. Let's President Trump, if Obama is likely to stand tall before the man in a court of law, refer to him as the Kenyan wearing a yellow tie.
And you wear the yellow tie. Okay.
All right.
Yes. All right. Got
All
it.
right.
Okay,
All right.
Dan, I hope you got that. Tell the boss. That's what we're looking for. That's what everybody wants is call him the Kenyan, wear the yellow tie. And we're talking specifically about Obama. Good.
All right.
And we'd like it to happen within a week, just so we know we're all on the same page.
Right. There you go.
That can happen when you get back from Scotland.
I wish I was in Scotland with him. Dang it.
Doesn't it look amazing? He has an armored golf cart. I just saw that. It's called the Golden Golf Force One. I'm serious. How funny is that? It's armor plated.
I wonder if it has machine guns on it. Does it? Have you seen it? I haven't seen a picture of it. Oh gosh, they're gonna make me put my glasses on. And...
It looks like a G-Wagon.
Oh yeah, very nice. It's got some panels on it. That's
I don't know
cool.
how much that thing weighs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see a machine gun turret,
Yeah, that's all right.
but I know. How funny is that? I mean, but he's out there. I mean, he's out there in Turnberry. I bet that's beautiful. Amazing.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. Oops. Sorry. Noise. Okay. So I think that's it. As usual, Dave, tell everybody where to follow you, how to find you.
You can follow me on X. My handle is @PrayingMedic. I only have one account. Do not follow any of the other 12 fake Praying Medics account on X that are going to DM you and try to sell you some
He's not even kidding.
Nasara medbed thing. Yeah,
They're all fake.
Fake Praying Medic accounts on there. I'm @Praying Medic on X.
You don't have any extra letters or numbers in your account.
Yes, prayingmedic.com and prayingmedic.org are the two websites where I'm posting articles, videos, podcasts.
Excellent.
And if Q returns, I'll get back to doing Q updates.
Excellent.
So we'll see what happens.
Awesome. And like we said, anybody who wants to get up to date on everything, go to his website, or you can go grab the Q book. Here's a link. This one says Q book 4, but it's you can find them all over there now. Where did that link go? I've got too many links up here. I've got to clean it up. I can't find it. I've got the sourdough starter up here.
I made some sourdough last night.
You did?
And I just threw it in the fridge. Yep.
We got some spelt bread. Everybody in the house here likes to eat bread, and it's hard to keep them from doing it. And I've been trying to clean up the situation. And so I found a local baker that makes spelt bread, which apparently is better for people with blood sugar issues and things like that.
Yeah.
They grind their own spelt.
Yeah, it's an ancient grain.
Yeah, here's the link. So if you want to check out the Q books, there you go. You can link here, and then you can go buy them all. All right, that's it. I think we're done for today.
All right, let's wrap it.
28. That's a wrap. Everybody have a great day. Go outside, touch some grass, talk to God, put your phone down, and enjoy the summer, even if you're in the hot box known as Arizona, Phoenix. I think that's it. We will see everybody back here soon. Keep an eye on the channel. Keep an eye on Dave's channel. Keep an eye on mine. And we'll be back. Have a great day, everybody.